Welcome, guys. Let's see what kind of qigong question we have today. Hope you all had a good week. All right, first one is from episode 67. House of Kung Fu 2543. Hey, House of Kung Fu. All right. If the natural state is peace and love according to the Tao, then how does one maintain that in a chaotic environment when people respond to your peace with violence and chaos? When you're literally just minding your business, and it makes me want to knock their block off. Some people take that state as a sign of weakness, and it makes me feel blocked and dull because I feel like my natural instinct is a threat of being lost, especially in ghetto slum areas. Thank you always, Sifu. Okay, so that's a good question because there seems to be a popular contradiction with spirituality. People think, hey, love and peace is great, but I don't want to be taken advantage of, and I want to be able to handle conflict. I don't want people to hurt me physically, emotionally, whatever, right? So in Taoism, it is not an escape from conflict. In the Tao Te Ching, which is the second scripture of original Taoism, which is very famous, written by Lao Tzu, to paraphrase, it says in there that weapons are the instrument of evil, do not use it. But if you have to use it, only use it as a last resort, and always show mercy. Never celebrate victory because it is like going to your brother's funeral. Unquote. I'm paraphrased, sorry. So this is very common sense because it is in our civil law, right? In most countries, you're not allowed to attack or hurt anybody unless it's a last resort to protect yourself. So common sense, very easy to understand. But that's a rule-based behavior. Most people are not like that because we have a natural temper, we have our own ego. When someone wants to hurt us, we want to hurt them back. So Taoism is saying no. It's not telling you to not fight, like in some traditions. It's telling you to only fight as a last resort and not to celebrate victory because it's like going to your brother's funeral. Whoever you kill is a brother, is a fellow human being. So that's right in the scripture. This is really important before I move on to answer your question, because the motivation part. If you see someone that's trying to hurt you as an enemy, that's one way to look at them. But if you see them as a human being that's messed up and they don't know any better, that's another way to look at it. So when you approach fighting or conflict resolution or dealing with conflict like, here I am and here they are, we're separate, is I'm right, they're wrong, they're the enemy, they're evil. When you look at people like that, it's going to cause a lot of tension before we even get into answering your question of how to deal with them. On the other hand, if you look at them as a fellow human being they don't know any better, they have mental illness, or they have physical illness, they have spiritual illness, they're ill, because if they're violent for no reason, then you look at them differently. There's an ounce of calmness in there and compassion. That changes the way you respond. That's why I'm mentioning this. So the next thing is also Sun Tzu, another very famous Taoist scripture or manual or book, whatever you want to call it, using Taoist concepts. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. If I remember correctly, he's the only general in 5,000 years of Chinese history that never lost a war. And he uses Taoist concept for fighting. So that pretty much proves that Taoism is not against fighting, but the way they fight is different based on the motivation of what I just outlined, which is in our civil law. But being in the law doesn't really help if it's not in the heart. Being in the heart's important because it changes the way you respond. So yes, Taoism in its natural state is peace and love. You're right. Because as I stated a few episodes ago, just to review really quickly, your natural state is relaxation, using a palm as a metaphor. And then your doing state, forcing state, contriving state, any action is based on tension. The more you do, the more tense you are. Tension by its very nature is shrinking until it's hard. And relaxation by its nature is it softens up until it expands, until it's big. Shrinking is fear. Hardness is anger, rage, and hate. Softness is love and empathy and compassion. expanding his inner power or a state of well-being or joy or bliss, whatever you want to call it. So our natural state is peace and love. You're 100% right. I totally agree. And yes, that's what spiritual tradition as well as Taoism states. So the question is, if you're in this state, you're vulnerable and you want to hurt people because they want to hurt you. And how are you supposed to deal with someone that really want to hurt you? Philosophy is great. Meditation is great. Feeling bliss and peace is great. But what if someone tries to hurt you? So can this state, this relaxed, peaceful, blissful state actually deal with conflict? The answer is yes. And we proved that in martial art. And I recognize your name, House of Kung Fu. You followed my martial art channel before and my martial art work. So you know that I did martial arts. For those that don't know, you can go into the playlist in my channel. I think I left 20 Kung Fu clips in there to show that I have once taught a lot of martial arts. I still teach martial art on my website, and I've done martial art for 40 years. 40 years, yeah. And the way that I move, if you watch my clips, you can see that I'm relatively calm and I'm fighting from this state. I don't fight from tension. So it is humanly possible. Not just in training, but unfortunately, for about 10 years from the time I was 29 to 39 and a half-ish, I did private security where I was getting paid to deal with violent people sometimes. And I've used my art, unfortunately, to protect myself and others in real situations, and I was able to use this state in combat. How is that possible? I'm going to walk you through it. From a point of view of internal martial arts or Taoism, there's a few layers. There's Sam, which is literally translated as the heart. There's Yi, translated as intention. Hei, translated as Qi or energy. And then Ying, which is translated as shape or movement. And of course, Lek, which is your strength. So if you look at these 5 layers, and we're going to look at it in terms of relaxation versus tension. If you're in a relaxed state, you actually perform better in combat. So a lot of time people are like, oh, it's great to be spiritual. It's good to meditate. But this doesn't really work when there's problems in life, when someone's attacking you. I'm going to respectfully disagree. Because when you're calm in combat, you perform way better. One of the first things that happened when I did a lot of internalized training, in real combat one time, the first time that it happened, it freaked me out. Because, I did martial arts for 40 years. When we spar, when we fight, when we do scenario work, or when I get an attack on the street, it's always tension-based. Use your adrenaline, use your anger, control it, attack the guy. It's very aggressive, and you can see that in the martial art community, of course. But as I did more relaxation, internalized training in martial arts, when I did use it for real, unfortunately, when I had to, one of the first things that really shocked me was I was really calm to the point where everything seemed slow motion. And this is reported in athletics all the time, where in a real game, the stimuli outside your body seem slow motion. But usually it's done by luck. They don't know why it happens. It just happens to athletes. But through internalized training, it starts to happen more and more and more. You actually perform a lot better in combat because 1, you're calm in making fine motor decisions. And 2, more importantly, the guy looks slow motion to you or a lot slower, giving you a lot more response time. So softness or calmness is not weak under combat. On the contrary, it gives you a leg up. Second thing, in your intention. Most of the time in martial arts, we train ourselves to link a stimuli to a response. If he does A, I do B. If he does B, I do C. If he does C, I do D, that kind of thing. And we spend years and decades programming these stimuli and response patterns in our sign lapses, technique training. And then we go randomize and we do pressure testing, right? But one of the things that's left out in the system is this. Adaptability is more important than any system. And by definition, adaptability stands outside a system because adaptability demands you to respond to the unknown. And any system, any pattern of thought or behavior is based on what you know. You can't know what you don't know. So adaptability is the ability to respond to the unknown. Adaptability, for some reason that's unknown to me, and I don't know why, goes skyrocket when you're under an extreme relaxed state. And I experience this in combat, and I also experience this in training. So that's the second evidence that calmness or the Taoist state or the Qi Gong state or the internal state or the peaceful state or the meditative state actually helps you in combat because it increases adaptability. answers are known to me. Your intuitive side, your brain starts to work. Third thing, energetics. You definitely save a lot more energy when you're relaxed and calm. I'm not going to go into that because it's pretty much common sense. The next one is speed, accuracy, and power. When you relax, and of course you know this watching this, your ability to explode, issue power, control the vector of your force, as well as your depth perception and accuracy goes up the roof compared to if you're overly tense. So your speed, accuracy, power, calmness in combat, adaptability, tactile sensitivity, as well as visual response goes up when you relax. So I hope that answers that question when you say the Taoist state is relaxed and peaceful, but how does that work in combat? Well, it actually amplifies your ability to be efficient in combat. This is crucial as a metaphor, even if someone doesn't want to train martial art. Because in our culture, we frame spirituality as something positive, but is useless when life gets hard or when someone's attacking you or when daily life problems attacking you. It's nice to be relaxed when you're lighting candles, sitting on a meditation cushion. Great. You're a bunch of hippies, that kind of thing. But what happens if life punches you in the face, literally or metaphorically? Taoism does not escape life, and contrary to popular belief, that kind of thinking is wrong. Relaxation actually works better in combat. So I hope that answers that question. And the next thing is, this is actually very important for our society, in my humble opinion, because even if you never get into a physical fight, what we discussed today is based on conflict. So even if we never get mugged, never get attacked on the street, never get raped, never get whatever, no physical actual combat, we still have to deal with conflict. In fact, it is one of the major reasons why people feel an enormous amount of stress. Rather they're dealing with a bad boss or a crazy customer, a traffic jam, road rage, abusive spouse, verbally or physically, whatever. Even if it never turns into a fist fight, you're still dealing with aggressive intention from another human being resulted in verbal abuse or attitudes that harm or hurt your feelings or your well-being. That's the best that I can put it. Conflict, human conflict. So everything we discussed today actually will help you in dealing with that and releasing your stress. So after you meditate, great. But if you don't know how to carry your meditation into a conflict situation, even when it's not physical, then your stress is going to come right back. So your meditation becomes kind of useless. After you meditate and after you develop this kind of internal training, it is vital to be able to use this in daily life, including non-physical violence or non-physical conflict. And how do you do that? Because it's easy to talk about it, but how do you actually do that? Because we have a lot of anger management literature, a lot of philosophy, a lot of self-help quotes, a lot of non-violent conflict resolution, a lot of politically correct rules. That's great, but it doesn't really help people when they're under stress dealing with conflict because it's a different side of the brain. So you might learn all these conflict resolution, all this philosophy, all this peaceful mumbo jumbo in your frontal lobe. But when someone pisses you off and your adrenaline starts to pump up, it's your reptilian brain that now being fired as your frontal lobe is not even in the driving seat anymore. So even if you program all these values and psychological techniques for peaceful resolution in your frontal lobe, it's not going to help you when it's not in the driving seat when you're being threatened and it's actually your reptilian brain. What that means is, in order for you to use peace as a way of dealing with actual conflict, it can't be some thought in your frontal lobe. It's too slow and it's not in the driving seat. You have to actually change your nervous system until it becomes a knee-jerk reflex. And the way to do that, martial arts. You have to find a martial art that specializes in using peace, softness, and relaxation in real-world conflict. And it's a very difficult thing because the problem with that is most people, and no disrespect, most people that preach using peace and softness for real conflict usually get knocked out when there's pressure testing. They talk about it, but they can't do it. So it's important to be able to find a teacher that can. If someone's talking about speed, but they move like a snail, no good. If someone's talking about power, but when they hit a heavy bag, they break their hand, no good. If someone's talking about fast reflex, but they're constantly getting punched in the face, no good. The martial art community, just like any other field of study, has a lot of talk. But if you want to actually be able to do this, you want to find someone that can actually pull it off. That when they're actually getting pressure tested in attacks, if you see him really calm and relaxed, you know the guy can do what he say. And that's the number one criteria that's really hard for people to swallow. It's not about styles, and it's not about lineage, and it's not about words. Can the guy do what he says? If the answer is yes, personally, I don't care what style it is, what country he's from, what it is called, I want to learn it. If the guy can't do it, then again, it doesn't matter how great his resume is, I'm walking the other way. That was a philosophy that I carry with me my entire life, my entire career, and it has served me really well when I was looking for teachers. So the best advice I have for you is, if you want to learn how to use the peaceful, relaxed method and keep it under stress and conflict, whether it's physical or not, then find a martial art teacher that can actually walk his talk. Not someone that can win. That part's easy against an average person attacking people. And thank God most people attacking people are pretty average. So it's not the guy that can win. That's easy to find. But find a guy that can win while he's being extremely calm and relaxed. If you can find a guy like that, doesn't matter what style it is, study under him to the best of your ability, and you're going to be able to get that dialed into your nervous system until it's a knee-jerk reflex. That anytime someone is starting crap with you or abusing you or being confrontational, whether it's physical or not, now is programmed into your central nervous system to stay relaxed as you win clean, clinical, and easy. And that's the Taoist way. That if you don't have to do something, don't do it. But if you have to do something, get really good at it and get really relaxed at it. And I recommend my good friend and mentor, Steve Smith. His website is called thelittledojo.com. Thelittledojo.com. He teaches internalized soft martial art, and he's one of the few guys teaching soft internalized martial art that can actually do it in actual combat. And I recommend him. He's a teacher's teacher. He's amazing. One of the best teachers of martial arts I've ever seen. Yeah, this is very important because if you're looking for internal martial art, usually they're demonstrating forms and push-ins and drills, but when it comes to actual real conflict, usually it falls apart. This is very important. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. In fact, if you see someone can't do what they say, just bow and quietly go your own way. There's no point in insulting them or arguing with them. It's not going to change anything, and you don't want to be that guy, you know what I mean? So I hope I didn't come across as disrespectful, because that's not my intention. Anyways, if you have any more questions, please leave it in a comment below. We can discuss it some more. Before I go, I want to say that I'm very happy that a lot of you are joining the Taoist community just to go over what we offer. If you're interested in learning our methods, once a week we train together in a live stream class. Half the class is in guided qigong, sitting, lying down, standing and moving meditation in a rotation. The other half of class is live Q&A. And also, all the live stream class are stored in the student library. So if people miss a live stream class, it's not a big deal. They can watch it in their own time in the library. And also we have a private student forum, which gives me a chance to customize and personalize all instruction, which is vitally important in Qigong. Without personalized instruction, in my opinion, Qigong doesn't even work. It has to be customized to your mind and body, and everyone's different. Also, we have a live free Q&A once a month where I get a chance to hang out with my students and discuss important stuff. Anyways, that's it for now. See you guys next time. Have a good night.